Welcome to Transcendent. I'm Raya, and I'm the daughter.
And I'm Joe, and I'm the dad.
Dad, do you know what they call a line of people when it's at the Pride Center?
I don't know.
It's an LGBTQ. And of course, the line is never straight.
If you could remove every challenge from your LGBTQ plus journey, would you? Or did some parts of that journey unexpectedly shape strengths that you really are glad you've got now?
This is a great conversation. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. And I think it really fits well what we're doing for Pride Month and that we're exploring lots of different things. We're already an LGBTQ plus podcast, but in June, we get to really dive in some ways that are especially fun and because we're connecting with the wider community during this time. And I really like the idea of thinking that it's not all bad. There is a silver lining to the LGBTQ plus experience. I remember hearing if you ask most trans people if they could take that experience away once they have transitioned, and I forget how long this was, maybe a year or two afterwards, would they do it? And most people will say, no, because I wouldn't be who I am right now.
That's right. That's not true of just LGBTQ plus people. It's true of everybody in life experiences. I had the opportunity to live in a foreign country. I lived in Japan for 2 years. While I was there, I was able to understand and learn the language, understand the customs of the people. It opened my eyes to how people are all over the world. And in reality, what I learned is that they aren't different from us in many ways. They all want the same things. They want to be able to protect their family. They want to be able to provide for their family, those kinds of things. All of the things that we all value, everyone values. When I learned that, I realized we don't look at somebody as unusually different when we really understand them and become a part of their society. And it's that way with LGBTQ+.
Right. Now, of course, not every LGBTQ plus person experience these things as gifts or experience these as good things. A lot of us come through very difficult paths. And I also don't want to give the impression that I am always thinking, boy, this is so great. I think every one of us has experienced hardships and has experienced times where we say, boy, this sucks. And I wish I sure didn't have to go through this. But that's why I think it's so helpful that we stop for a moment and we think about how some of these things that we never asked for have actually helped to shape us in some really surprising ways that have been really helpful.
Well, I am an ally. And I see things a little differently as an ally than you do as part of the LGBTQ plus community. I'm part of the ally community. I wasn't always part of the ally community. When you came out, suddenly I realized I had to see things differently from the way I saw it. I saw things so much differently. It was like I was looking through translucent glass. And suddenly, I was able to see clearly and understand. Not suddenly, I shouldn't say that. It's been a long process. Doing this podcast has helped me learn a lot. But not only have I completely changed my mind and become a total supporter and an affirming person, but I look for opportunities to share that with other people, to let them know. For me, that is pride itself. That is the pride of saying how proud I am of what you have done to become your authentic self.
And I think that's why we started this podcast as well, was a place for us to be able to have these conversations that when we first started, I don't think either one of us really knew how far we had to go. And what we were learning, I was still learning at the time, and you were learning plenty. And I think both of us started this thinking, well, we kind of know what we're going to say, and we have learned so much since then.
Yeah, I remember the podcast we did that you called teaching. Was it slang?
Teaching LGBTQ slang to the dad.
Yeah,
That was a fun one. Yeah, that was, I think, our very first year, or maybe at the end of that first year.
I
And
think it was.
we had a good time with that one. But I do think that this brings us to really the first big point is that when you are LGBTQ plus, you learn to have empathy for people that are not like you. And this would extend even and maybe especially to allies.
Absolutely true. You hit the nail on the head. That is exactly how I feel.
I think for me, I went through my life until 10 years ago, well, coming up on 11 years ago now, where I navigated the world as a straight white man. Now, I wasn't. I knew inside I had something else going on, though I didn't know quite what it was, or, it took a while. It took some therapy and it took some time for me to figure out who I was and to finally transition. But the point is that the world treated me as a straight white man. And so I did not realize how much privilege I was navigating the world with until I lost a lot of it. And I realized, oh, there were a lot of things that I took for granted that I can't really take for granted anymore. And I think even in our conversations, and there's a lot of times where you come to that thinking, well, the way that I thought the world was and the way the world actually is very different.
Exactly. I look at people who have differing opinions than mine that I had in the past, and I see them as being, I would say, uneducated. And I don't see them as the enemy. I see them as people like I was and how different I am now. It's looking at them and thinking, oh, it's too bad they are not able to read.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's missing a really critical part of what it means to be human.
Yes.
And so, not that this makes you perfect at it. There are certainly plenty of times every one of us in the LGBTQ plus community can say, yeah, there's times where I missed it. There's times where I biffed it, especially if you're interacting with people that are in the other letter groups. So, for instance, I would put myself in the T as a transgender woman. But if I am talking with, say, gay men, there are some times where their experience is very different from my experience, and my experience is very different from theirs, and we may not always see eye to eye on some of the things. And of course, even within our communities, there are times where things that I'll say, other people in the trans community will say, I don't like how you said that, because just like any other group, we're not a monolith. That anytime you have a group of like people, you're always going to be different in more ways than you're the same. And so, yes, I have more empathy towards people that are different from me, but I've also discovered that there's times where I miss it, but being in community with other people that are different in the same kind of way that I'm different has helped me to figure out how, when we're navigating those, to be a little more compassionate.
That is what I would call the gift of self-examination. That's wonderful, because you can look at this and say, who am I really? Oh, I'm really different from what I thought I was prior to when I came out. I certainly am a lot different from when I was not really affirming and didn't understand. And now I could ask myself, through this, I have this gift of looking at myself and saying, what do I really believe? That changes.
I see so many people, adults, that have never stopped to think about, who am I? What do I really believe? What am I really about? Is how I have been navigating the world who I really am? Am I being authentic to myself? When you're different when you're transgender and you know inside you've got these feelings, or if you're gay or lesbian, if you're bisexual, if you're any of the other letters, if you're asexual, if you are agender or you're non-binary, or any of the other people in our community. And I don't mean to miss anybody there, because our community is so diverse. It's very easy to talk in generalities and miss some people that are really important here. If you're any of those feelings, you experience those feelings and you think, I don't quite fit. You stop and you think, who am I really? And you get to really explore who you are. I see a lot of people that are just following the script that society has given them, because you've just figured, okay, well, I'm straight and I'm supposed to be straight and I'm cisgender. And you don't even think that. Nobody, or very rarely, does somebody stop and think, the gender feelings that I have inside match up with what I was assigned at birth. And that's interesting. And how do I actually feel about my gender? Most people that are not transgender have never even stopped to consider gender or gender experiences or those kinds of things. So those of us that are transgender, those of us that are gay or lesbian or bisexual, have worked through a lot of those expectations in ways that we were not expecting at all, that we were not thinking this was going to be a big issue for us. And all of a sudden we discover, I need to figure out how to re-navigate all of this. There's a real value in that.
That's because you are looking now, or you are discussing a gift that you now have. The ability to learn authenticity, to come out, allows you to examine your own introspection. And those kind of things are different. For me, as an ally, I feel the same way. As an ally, I question my inherited assumptions to realize at one point, wait a minute, I have to look at this in a different perspective. That was a gift that helps me to understand truly that we're all left-handed.
And I think too, you have a real gift. I think that I've just always seen in you. I was thinking about this earlier this week, that you've always gone through life where you have been really compassionate and caring towards other people. But one of the gifts that you have is that if people are really judgmental towards you, you tend to be really good at just letting that roll off your back. Who cares what they think?
That's true.
And that has been really good.
Part of that is my age as well.
Well, but even when I was young and you were younger than I am now, you still had a good ability to be able to let things roll off. But sometimes I think that the flip side to that would be missing when somebody else is saying, hey, I don't like how you're thinking about things, or, and before you had somebody in your life that was LGBTQ, you didn't think about these issues much at all. And not that you were ever trying to be hurtful or harmful, but you did say some hurtful and harmful things, and so did I. We've talked about that many times in this podcast.
I did, not really intending to be hurtful or harmful, maybe sometimes intending to be funny or intending to be outspoken.
Yeah, you intending to be funny and not succeeding? I can't imagine.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you telling me that I have been succeeding with these one-liners that we open with?
Somebody said the other day, you told some one-liner, and he turned to me and he said, I really feel bad for you. But it is funny because today I did the joke. So it's not like I have escaped.
Exactly.
But having that sense of introspection, there is real value in that I think you would never have even thought to consider. And now here you are as an ally saying, how can I talk about this more? I think that's a great thing. And now we've got lots more people that are getting on board with us.
One of the most powerful LGBTQ plus concepts that you have when you come out, one of the gifts is that many people discover family can be built intentionally. It's not necessarily the blood family we always talked about, but it can be built, and the relationships become acts of choice, which is much, much more different. And in many cases, you can surround yourself with people that you probably wouldn't even associate it with prior to the fact that you came out, which makes it even more interesting. Deep friendships gain importance. Deep friendships really matter. You and I, as father and daughter, as ally and as transgender person, have experienced that same thing. We were always close. We were always best friends. But it's stronger now.
It is. And so we have been able to strengthen our actual family, our given family. But then also, I think we've been able to discover then chosen family in a lot of other places. And this is what I love about LGBTQ people and communities and pride centers, is because we can come together and we can find one another in a way that you don't get in a lot of other places. And boy, I think about how many TV shows that we love are all based around this idea of chosen family. You find a group of people, and then it's the same people that show up all the time.
True.
The classic one that I loved when I was growing up was Cheers, that the bar became the chosen family. But there have been lots of those. Golden Girls was a chosen family. New Girl, if you saw that in the 2000s, I love that show. Stranger Things. Boy, we had a decade where we all watched Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And what did we like about it? It was chosen family. It was all of the friends coming together. And as they battle these strange, weird things from the upside down, how they grow much closer together. And in that last season, you can see people that didn't even like each other beforehand have now become family in a way. In fact, maybe they still don't even like each other, but now they love each other. They're family.
I experienced that in the service organization that I'm part of. That service organization to me is a family. And I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. People find this hard to believe. But in this group that has 110 members, believe it or not, there are no cliques. That is really hard to understand. But we're all family. And we're a family that has differing political ideas and differing religions, etc. But when we're there together, it's a chosen family. It's wonderful.
We've got a bunch more gifts that we experience as LGBTQ folks and allies. Think about a few of those others that you think we might be talking about. I think we're going to have a few more that are going to really surprise you. We'll talk about those right after this.
I am Mark Zemer, a listener and supporter of Transcendent. I've been a Lutheran pastor for 45 years, and oh, what a journey that was for me to understand the LGBTQIA community and what that meant. I was so not understanding and hurtful. So this podcast is incredibly important to really educate and understand and to hold relationships together. So I urge you to consider listening, of course, but also supporting. You can go to transcendent.com and click on the heart with a support button. You can give as little as $3 a month, and you can cancel at any time. Important for all of us on this journey of understanding, keeping relationships together, truly being people of love.
You may never have thought about this, but if you are LGBTQ+, or if you're an ally and you've been around queer thought patterns, you may find yourself rewriting the other life scripts that have been given to you. So, for instance, does your life have to look like the way that it is right now? Who decided these rules? You know, I really believed that my family was going to turn out similar to the family that I grew up in. I was not expecting that I would hit a roadblock, transition, ended up getting divorced and having a different style of family now. It's not what I maybe would have chosen, but when we talk to the kids about it and when we ask how do they feel about it, I think there are things that they wish that we would have done differently. But I think in general, they would say, I'm really glad that you got to be you, and I would prefer this. I remember when we interviewed John Polk on this podcast, his son said the same thing. Now, he came out as gay, and he was also divorced, and he went through a time where he talked about how difficult it was. And he thought, did I make the wrong decision? And his son said, Dad, you're gay. You would have been miserable if you would have tried to keep that straight marriage going. You were not meant to be there. That is not the right place for you. And I think many of us go through that where we think life was supposed to look a certain way, and it doesn't look that way.
And what I think you learn from that, I think you learn to be more creative. You learn to be more independent. You learn to be more flexible.
Oh, sure.
All of those things are because you're really kind of forced to.
Yeah.
And it is now a gift. You are able to understand more than you have before about how to use those gifts.
I think the life script that I had been given about faith and what faith means, I had a very narrow view of what I expected faith was supposed to be and how I was supposed to be. And I just went right along this path, and I became a pastor, and I went in and I figured there was a very narrow way of looking at my faith tradition, looking at the scriptures, looking at who I thought I was supposed to be. And I realize now looking at it, I missed a lot of really, really important things. Just as we were talking about in the first half, that you were able to open your eyes to some of the things that you didn't realize about how other people are. I think for me, the big one was opening my eyes to how the way that I was approaching my faith was really not good towards the people around me. I was really closed in a lot of ways and missing a lot of the things. And once I came to terms with my own LGBTQ identity, I realized that there is a wideness in faith and in faith communities and in what it means to love your neighbor as yourself that goes well beyond the very narrow, limited scope of what I believed it was beforehand.
If you find a church that says, we have all the answers, this is the way, and it's the only way, you'll know they're the ones that are wrong. Because there isn't only one way.
No, and that's the same for every part of life. There's not one way to have relationships. There's not one way to have a career. There's not one way to have community.
Exactly.
All of those things, once you start realizing, hey, wait a minute, I was just following what somebody told me to do beforehand, you start to look around at all of the other things. And I've spoken with other folks that really feel like they hardly even identify so much with the LGBTQ plus community, so much as they do with the idea of being queer. A lot of people really resonate with that word queer. It's kind of a way of saying, I'm going to write off the script that was given to me, and I'm going to pick up this queer script in the sense that it's not like what I was given. It's queer. It's different. It's a little bit strange. But boy, does this feel like me. And when you find a place that finally feels like home and not just a place that was given to you and rules that were given to you, but you get to really live authentically and be your true, most authentic self, there is nothing that compares to that.
There are other gifts now that we can talk about as well. These may not be gifts that you realize that you have received, and maybe you haven't received those. In fact, some of the ones we talked about earlier, they may not be the gifts you've received, but we tell you we're going to touch on all of these gifts that we see, or many of them, and you will resonate with some of those. One of the things that I resonate with is resilience and courage. That is something that helped me to realize there are times when I have to have a difficult conversation with someone. That used to be much more difficult for me before than it is now. I have gotten more courage to be able to do that, to speak up when people are saying something that I disagree with and that I know is clearly wrong. I'm willing to do that now. I'm willing to stand alone in a crowd. That is something else that's tough. I'll go out with a bunch of guys. There might be 5 or 6 of us out having coffee. We can be sitting around and somebody will make a comment, and I can, if I really know it's out there, I will object.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I can't accept this. And that is a courage that I've learned by becoming an authentic ally.
Now, we don't want to romanticize pain at all or suffering. Obviously,
Oh no, I don't like romanticizing pain and suffering. Oh boy, oh this hurts, man. That was fun.
Right. We're not going to wish suffering on anyone. Those hard things do sometimes develop muscles that we didn't know that we need. Our friend of the podcast, Matthew, that you may have heard, we've had him on a couple times before. He shared a story with us just yesterday about how when he got his very first tattoo, he looked at it and he said, it's not really as dark as I thought that it would be. But he decided, I'm just going to live with this because this is what it is. When he went back for his second tattoo, the tattoo artist said, we need to darken that up there. And he said, well, why did this get so light like that? I figured that's just how it was. He said, because you have thicker skin. And some people just have thicker skin. And he thought about that and he said, as a gay man, I have needed to have thicker skin. And that has been helpful for me. And I have had other times then where I've seen other people that were being bullied or where they've needed somebody to stand up for them. And because I have grown a little bit of thicker skin metaphorically as well, I'm able to be that person for other people. And I thought, what a wonderful thing there. Now, it's miserable to have to go through that. But when you know that because of what you've been through, you can be the person to help somebody else, that really is a gift, and we do like that.
Another gift is unexpected joy and community. And we've already talked about that a little bit, but pride celebrations, for example. When I go to one of the pride celebrations and I see the people there together, don't even know each other, and I can see how much they are enjoying themselves and how happy they are to be with all of these people who are fully affirming. And that is exciting and it's wonderful, and it gives us the feeling of joy to know that I'm in a group of people that see me as fully affirming, and I see them as fully affirming, being their authentic selves. And that in itself is something. Another thing that we can do sometimes, getting together and experiencing the joy and the community, is enjoying humor and creativity. Now, I enjoy humor. And that it really does make a difference. But it is a completely different type of humor than I enjoyed previously.
Right.
And I'm much happier myself because of that.
Sure. And there is a lot of joy in the LGBTQ plus culture in general. There's a lot of happiness. You go to a drag show and there can be so much fun and people are so excited and there's smiles and everybody's joyful, and you go to a pride celebration, there's rainbows everywhere and all of those things, but there's just culture. There are inside jokes and there are ways that we do things that I just love. For me as a transgender woman, there are ways that I do things, and there are you can kind of find similarities between trans feminine people. You can find similarities between trans masculine people and kind of how things are done in general. Gay men have a particular kind of culture, and I love to be around gay men. I feel like not that everybody acts the same way, because many people will completely blow off the stereotypes, but the people that do follow the stereotypes, I think are really fun. I really enjoy, because I feel like I have a camaraderie. I feel like there's a level of safety that I have as a trans woman have around them that just feels really comfortable. Many lesbian women have been some of the most hospitable people around. There is just an aspect to this culture that we have that is just so wonderful and just so fabulous. And some of the inside jokes that we have and the pieces that we have. I like to read comic books, and I don't read a lot, but I did recently pick up a comic book called Iceman Omega. If you ever read the original X-Men, Iceman was one of those original X-Men. And back in, I think it was 2015, the writers made a decision to say they read through all of the subtext of how he had acted up until now, and they said, we think we're going to have him come out. And so now he is canonically a gay man. And so I picked up this comic book, and I just read through it earlier today, and it is so fun to see this character that I grew up with now being out and flamboyant and completely himself, being completely comfortable, and talking about gay tropes and things, being comfortable with embodying those when it fits him, and being comfortable not embodying those when it's not him. And it is just so fun. Any kind of gay culture or queer culture that you get around, you get that sense.
Well, I'm sure that was really great for Iceman. And as a matter of fact, I can assure you that before he came out, Iceman was still cool.
Yep.
Heck, he might have been cold.
He sure was. That joke kind of frosted me. One thing that will never frost you, though, I hope, is this podcast.
Exactly.
I think we've given a lot of different things that you may not have thought about or recognized. This is actually a gift that I have. Or if you're an ally, you may not have thought about what a joy it is to be able to have this place of somebody in your life that you get to love, that you get to care for, and that you get to appreciate them for who they really are in a way that you didn't before. And we're trying to bring you more of that every single Monday morning.
None of us would choose everyday hardships. We know that. We don't choose those hardships we face, but sometimes life gives gifts in unusual packaging. And I believe we've touched on some of those. We hope that you've noticed that yourself and realize why at this point coming out or being part of the LGBTQ plus community or being an ally and seeing it from a new perspective is giving you the kind of joy that it's given most of us.
That's right. Happy Pride, everyone. And with that, we'll see you Monday.
I know a transgender woman who's allergic to makeup.
Allergic to makeup?
Yeah, no kidding. You can't make it up.